two real things that are happening is the vibe coding / AI coding, whatever you want to call it, having the AI write the code for you. People who don't even have never written code before are now writing code, and writing apps and programs. Thing I keep hearing out of everybody, out of Y Combinator, out of Chris Pirillo, out of everybody who's a commentator on the scene or is doing it, is there's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur and start rolling out an application and build a company, because one, it's really cost effective. You don't need a programmer anymore, right? In 5 years, like all expert knowledge, he said, I think is the term he put on it, right? Expertise. Right, a doctor, a lawyer, that, whatever, right, is going to be synthesized into AI, and all that knowledge essentially will be free. I've watched these companies, and I've watched them grow and change and mold. I have never seen them throw billions of dollars at a trend, a technology, whatever you want to call it.
Hi, and welcome to the AI Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Mast, and I'm really excited today to have with me Bruce Burke. Bruce and I met through, I believe it was my Facebook group, if I'm not mistaken, Bruce. And I've had an opportunity to chat a little bit, and I'm excited to have Bruce on the podcast today. Bruce, for those that are not as familiar with you, would you share a little bit about who you serve and how you help them out?
I'm the editor of what I call the Neural News Network. It started out as a newsletter on Substack. I've been doing it pretty much a little over a year now. I dove into it head first, really not knowing much about AI, and found it very interesting and intriguing and wanted to keep up with it. And so I've been doing this newsletter, and then we've kind of branched out into interviews, very much like what you're doing here with some people. And then also I'm putting out daily news, like the lead story for the thing as the video through the Substack, just having the AI voiceover work on it. And then now John Lawson III and I are doing a weekly, this week we're taking a week off. He's trying to unplug for a week, but we're doing the AI Bros podcast on a weekly basis, where we're just a couple of regular guys talking about AI and what's going on and what we're seeing and what we're doing and all that kind of stuff.
Well, based on that, let's dive right in. We love talking about AI here, as you well know, but talk to me a little bit. AI this entire year of 2025 has been changing at just a breakneck pace. It's one of the things I admit I love about it. But based on what you're seeing now, I know one of the most common questions I'm getting, Bruce, is, when is it going to take over? Do we need to be worried about that? And there are no right or wrong answers, because we both could be right or wrong or even disagree. But I'd love to get your perspective on the dangers of AI. Is this something that we need to be worried about, that, we're going to run into Terminator type issues down the road, or not, or somewhere in between? What are your thoughts?
I don't think it's smart enough to take over, right? I don't think it really has that value in mind, right? But as with any technology, it's a double-edged sword, right? And
sure,
it's all in the application and the person behind that's doing it, right? I read a headline recently. I try and put out a lot of positive news about AI. I don't put together the gloom and doom stuff.
I appreciate that about you, yes.
Right? And I talk about investment and advancements and, new projects and tie-ups and all that stuff. The thing that investors and business people are interested in from the AI perspective, but also creation, new tools that are coming out, and those companies that are getting funded, those new tools that are being built. I mean, companies that came out in 2023, 2024, for instance, Anthropic, $2.5 billion credit line from like 10 banks the other day. I mean, That's absolutely insane. The company's not even 4 years old yet.
Absolutely.
And they've got a market cap of $62.5 billion. I mean, or something like that. Over $60 billion is their current valuation. So, it's like, what? And that interests me. So I'm a backstory. I'm a guy that came from fintech before they even called it fintech. It was mobile money and mobile financial services, right? And a friend reached out to me, and I had done conferences around the space. I did a show called Social Mobile Payments and all that. And a friend had reached out to me, and he says, like, hey, you know what's really hot in fintech right now? And I was like, invisible payments, embedded banking, because all that stuff is just like, I was kind of tired of it, kind of worn out on it, right? And he's like, no, AI, right? And this is 2 years ago, right? So, and I was like, what? And I was like, that is a fresh take, right? So I went out and started doing some investigation. He wanted to do a conference, and we started working towards that. And along the way, things were just beginning to blossom in the industry, right? So it was very interesting the way I stumbled upon it. But I found it so much more interesting in fintech, and then I found out it's like fintech is one of the industries that stands to benefit like the most from AI, right? As far as like
absolutely
automation and that sort of thing, and numbers, right? So I'm currently kind of backing away from producing the newsletter as often as I used to. I used to do it daily, and a lot of people kind of said, hey, we can't even keep up with that. Like, so
sure.
Like maybe slow it down a little bit.
It gets hard after
right?
a while. Absolutely.
And then I found that I was spending a lot of time talking about it, reporting about it, sharing information about it, but I wasn't doing it, and I wasn't learning it.
Oh,
and I wasn't transforming, right? Because I was just telling everybody else about it. Now, don't get me wrong. Doing a daily newsletter for well over a year on any industry, you're going to learn a lot, right? And you're going to learn a lot about the industry and who the players are and all that sort of thing. But how do you monetize it, right? Where do you make money, right? Where does the rubber meet the road? And that's what I'm currently working on and trying to find out. And I'm actually like trying to automate this whole platform and make it automated right down to the salespeople that are calling for sponsors, and all the reporting, the reporters themselves, everything could be AI from the ground up, and make it something that's white labelable, I guess is the right word, right?
Sure.
I can
I like that. Absolutely.
So you can take your topic and make up your reporter names and give them their leanings and what their interests are and all that sort of thing, and create your own media company, right? With video, with audio, with text, with still images, right? I'm producing essentially a small newspaper every day. When I do my newsletter, I'm doing 4 stories and 4 videos. I mean, it's a lot.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah. Well, so, that's, I know, a question a lot of people have. As you take a look at that. What are you seeing as some of the most intriguing trends or new things that are happening in the AI space, especially as someone who's watching where the money's going, who's getting the investment? What are you seeing, Bruce, as some of those more interesting and maybe not even interesting, but where's the money flowing towards right now from your perspective?
2 real things that are happening is the vibe coding / AI coding, whatever you want to call it, having the AI write the code for you.
Yeah.
People who don't even have never written code before are now writing code, and writing apps and programs. And that's very interesting also to me, because after I completed computer concepts way back and was graduating out of the computer school, I could choose Novell NetWare, or I could choose
I remember that.
Introduction to Basic. And I went down Novell NetWare because networking was the future, son, right? And that's what we were all going to do. And
that's what everybody told us, right? Absolutely.
And I didn't go and learn programming, and it's always been something that it's kind of been, I think, missing from my arsenal or my repertoire, I thought, right? I understand it. I've written HTML.
Sure.
I can, syntax, that kind of stuff. I understand it. But the vibe coding really has me interested, and something that drove it even further. I've been doing the social media thing for quite a while, right? I'm an old guy. And Chris Pirillo popped up on my radar the other day, one of the original OGs of social media, right? A tech influencer from way back in the day. And he was talking about doing vibe coding. And he wrote a soundboard for his podcast, with the baby crying and the fart noises and the cloud, the cloud clapping and, all that sort of stuff. So
all that, exactly.
Right, and now he's doing hey, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, and the thing I keep hearing out of everybody, out of Y Combinator, out of Chris Pirillo, out of everybody who's a commentator on the scene or is doing it, is there's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur and start rolling out an application and build a company, because one, it's really cost effective. You don't need a programmer anymore, right? That saves you, $90,000 to $150,000 a year for, two, you don't need as many people anymore. One man can do the work of many, right? And that's another big trend that's I keep hearing over and over, is they're waiting for the first one-man unicorn, right?
I think we're going to be there
$1 billion
quick.
company,
Absolutely. Well, and again, I think that's the ability that we have as an entrepreneur, especially in the app space, to come up with an MVP or minimum viable product and be able to determine, can we monetize this before we invest? We've never been able to do that before. I remember having discussions over my career with people who are like, well, that'd be worth investing a couple $100,000 into that to see what we could do with it. Well, nowadays, we don't need to invest a couple $100,000. You might be able to invest, as little as $1,000. Come up with a minimum viable product, determine is it marketable, and then as you start making money, then start refining and adding more features and maybe bringing in programmers at that point in time. I think it's an entire paradigm shift from where I'm sitting as to what we've typically been able to do. And I think that's what gets so exciting to see where we're at, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's as someone who's been around technology a long time, right? I was doing prepaid phone cards back in the early '90s, things like that, right? And we were trying to find some distribution ways to distribute stuff and make machines and all that sort. Having the ability like these guys have now to rapidly 3D prototype a machine or a container or something, to rapidly generate software, to quickly spin up a website. I mean, it costs you now more money to incorporate in your state and to pay all your fees and do all your registration and everything than it does to actually make a viable product and put it out to the market.
Which is, unbelievable. And that's such a paradigm shift from where we've been at. I agree with you. I think it's being talked about in some circles, but I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are not aware that AI can really help us in those areas, develop those minimum viable products. And then on top of it, they can help us better understand our audience. They can help us better understand how to approach them, maybe even how to create that application in a better way so that it gets better acceptance and all that. I mean, all these things that we would have had to have hired consultants and experts to do, assuming we have some knowledge, because I do believe at the end of the day, AI amplifies skill and experience. So I do think that the professional using AI is still going to be way ahead of the non-professional using AI. But again, it opens up so many doors for us in so many different areas. Outside of vibe coding, let's talk a little bit about platforms. I know you use different ones and you report on them. You mentioned Anthropic and ChatGPT, and we've got Google and all that. What is your perspective on the I'm trying to think of the AI engine space, so to speak. In other words, the program from a program. Which AI tools should entrepreneurs be looking at based on your perspectives? What are the ones they should be paying attention to?
I keep reading about, but haven't used it directly myself. Google apparently has a lot of different tools in the AI
yes,
space.
They do.
A full suite, a full complement, so to speak, right? And everything from video creation, image generation, audio. The Notebook LM is pretty incredible. I was sitting with Tony Rockcliffe, who runs the AI Connection. He was showing me some really powerful features in Notebook LM the other day. and I'll have to connect you guys. It's a,
Yeah, that'd be great.
Another turns out the guy lives like 5 blocks from me. Somebody introduced me to him, and he's got his own AI community, and right, he's a musician and an old audio guy. He's worked with like musicians Traffic and Steve Winwood, stuff like that back in the days, right? So it's to me, I've been, like I said, I've been focused mostly on putting out this newsletter and reporting the news in this. And mostly what I've been using is the Meta.ai to generate images. And I started doing it using the WhatsApp app, but on my Mac. Because it was built in there already, and I was already using it for other things. And so I started using it there. And then I had the LLM kind of developed an attitude towards me, and I'm not going to go into the story, but on that particular app, so I went and started using it when they released Meta.ai, like their .com, right? And I went and started using it there, and at first when I was doing it, I was fighting because I was trying to get produce an image I saw in my head, but I couldn't describe it, and it was confused, and it couldn't produce the image that I wanted. And it took many, many tries and hours sometimes to produce one hero image for my newsletter. But it produced great images when it got to it, right? So
Absolutely.
Through a lot of trial and error, I finally learned that, hey, write an illustrative description of, a rabbit riding a bicycle, right? And it writes the most beautiful, fluid, right? And then I just feed it right back into it. I dog food it, right? And I feed it right back into it. And it might take 3 or 4 or 5 times now, but so much better. So write an illustrative description, right? And then feed that illustrative description that it outputs right back into it, because it understands it better than you do. Sometimes I don't even read it, because it's too lengthy, right? I'm like, I don't have time for that. Like, let me just try this.
It's so funny you say that. It is one of the things, I'm going to take a rabbit trail here, but that AI has really done for me is I love to learn, and I love to get trainings and that, but I don't have time to watch them all and to listen to them all. And the ability that I have now to go in fact, I'm literally, just before I got on the call here, I'll take a look here. So I have just recently, using Notebook LM, I've went in and I've taken actually a coach. I bought his programs. I mean, I paid him for them, no problem there. And I took the transcripts, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So 21 different transcripts from the training that he provided. Load them into Google Notebook LM. Have that then create, as you know, in Notebook, you can create a podcast. They call it a podcast. It's basically a discussion that 2 people have based upon that data. But the neat thing is it's only based on the data you've uploaded. And so now I have a 25-minute podcast audio overview, essentially, that it's created of these 21 different transcripts. By the way, it's nearly 14 hours of content. I've got a 25-minute summary. I can now, on my walk tomorrow, listen to that in my 25-minute summary. I would never in my life have gotten around to listening to all 14 hours. And then if I want to do a deep dive, because it's loaded in there, all I have to do is tell me, where do I go to do a deep dive into this particular topic in the training? And it'll tell me, here's where it is, here's how to find it, or it will give me more detail. Leveraging AI like that to learn, from my perspective, is something we don't talk about enough, because it allows us to learn in the manner that we do. Because, Bruce, you may learn in a different manner than I will. I might learn in a different manner. I certainly know my kids sometimes do. We don't all fit in this nice little box that we're often put in. And AI gives us that ability to learn in the things that we're interested in the manner that we're interested in. And I think that's one of the things that's so exciting, is we're being presented, and I don't think we can even imagine right now, a world where opportunities are going to exist that we have never even imagined yet. That being one of them. Until Notebook LN came out, I never once thought of taking an entire training program. Imagine taking an entire college course, whatever it may be, feeding it in, and then getting the core stuff, because we don't all need every aspect. I know every college professor is trying to throw tomatoes at me right now, but we didn't need every aspect of every presentation you gave. We needed certain aspects of it. And even better, if I need it later and I have it available, I can always go back later and go, what did Professor Bruce Burke teach me about this topic? And boom, it'll find it and I'll have it relevant to me. So I really think it's going to change that knowledge management really as well. Any thoughts on that?
I read a quote, and I think it was from Vinod Khosla, right, who's a legendary investor, right? He was the first investor in OpenAI, right?
Yeah.
Because he knew Altman from Y Combinator, right? But he was the first one that went in on them. And he said that, like, in 5 years, like, all expert knowledge, he said, I think is the term he put on it, right? Expertise. Right, a doctor, a lawyer, that, whatever, right, is going to be synthesized into AI, and all that knowledge essentially will be free. So, on the flip side of that, Mark Andreessen said one of the few AI-proof jobs in the future is going to be a VC, because you got to be able to see that spark of talent.
Yes, absolutely. No doubt about it.
Yeah. And I tend to think he's right in a very weird way, right? It's going to be the people that are nuanced and creators, and I think it's going to enable the creation economy that we've been hearing about for about a decade now, right? You and I have been hearing about this, the meek shall inherit the earth, the creators are going to rule, everybody's going to be able to exchange ideas and money and commerce, and we all thought, like, well, is it crypto that's going to make this happen? And then, like, crypto kind of blew up in our face, right? And then Web3 kind of came around, like, as crypto was kind of going away, right? And we're all like, well, is it Web3? I think it's, I've got a local friend, Evan, developer, mid-20s, I think, just out of school, right? And he started a thing called Beak, B-E-A-Q. B is a blockchain. E is essentially AR, VR, MR, whatever you want to call it, right? Alternate reality. And then A is obviously artificial intelligence, and then Q is quantum. Those four things stacked together is the future, what's going to make that creator economy possible. Quantum further down the line, 10 years from now. But yeah.
I have not had that discussion, but directly, but I think you just hit on something that's really monumental, and I couldn't agree with you more. AI, from my perspective, I've noticed, has given me more time to be creative, and because it allows me to amplify some of my experience, it's also given me the opportunity to do things that I just wouldn't have taken the time to do otherwise, because I wouldn't have taken the time to put days into a project that now I might be able to do in 20 minutes. And as a result, I've created a lot more, whether that be content, whether that be images, whether that be text, whether that be music. I mean, I've literally created, now with AI, admittedly, but I've directed it and created music that I've never done before in my life. So I'm not a pro, and I'm sure a composer, a songwriter could kick me in the butt, but I've been able to expand my wings, so to speak, and create more. And I think that's a really exciting part about one of the things that AI brings to the table. That, again, like you said, we've been hearing about, you and I have both been hearing about this for a very long time. And I think now may be on the cusp of actually seeing that.
And to take that one step further, I've always, I think I picked up from the Aziz Ansari, right? Master of None was a name of one of his comedy specials, right?
Yes.
And I've always considered myself like a marketing generalist. I've always been like a marketing guy. I did the shows because, it's marketing, right? That's mostly what I've done for companies in all spaces, right? And I really think that being a generalist like I am, and having the augmentation of AI, right, to where I'm not so strong, right? Where I'm
Sure.
not so fast, where I'm not so glib, right? Where I'm not so illustrative, right? Where I'm not so musical, right? Everything it can do for me, right? Or it can help me, and it can help me get there faster than anything we've ever seen.
Absolutely.
And I look at this, Jonathan. It's this. I've watched all these companies my entire career. From Microsoft, I learned IBM PC DOS 3.3, right? So that was like where I started with computers, right? Commodore computers, right? 64 and that kind, 64 kilobytes of memory, stuff like that, right? Not even a full megabyte. And I've watched these companies, and I've watched them grow and change and mold. I have never seen them throw billions of dollars at a trend, a technology, whatever you want to call it, right? They say it's a hype cycle and it's going to bubble burst down the road because it can overtake everything. But
I'm not so sure I believe that. We'll see.
I think the jury's out. I think a lot of people kind of poo-pooed it when it first kind of popped up, and they're like, "Oh, I can't," and then they're like, "Oh, wow, it can do that," and "Oh, it can do that," and a lot of people that were kind of like naysayers are now kind of like big proponents, and there's. The naysayers aren't very loud in the channels, as opposed to almost like every other technology. I don't hear them as much. There's the publications like Futurism and a few of them that always got the clickbait, nego headlines, right? But I just don't see it that much.
I agree with you. I think there's been a change happening there that, if we compare a year ago to today, I think there was a lot more fear-mongering a year ago than there is today. There's still those around, and there's those that are playing on that. I know a lot of them, the thing I see the fear-mongers playing on now is, oh my goodness, we're all going to lose our jobs. We're all going to lose our jobs. And I'm not here to say that people won't. There will absolutely, in my opinion, be people that are displaced by AI, but not so much by AI as they're going to be displaced by other people that leverage AI, that do what they do, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on that, on the whole job front?
I have heard that probably the ones that are most affected right now are the developers, because people just aren't hiring those rando developers, right? Hey, do this quick app for me, do this quick project for me.
Precisely.
Right?
Yeah, because you can vibe code it like we were just talking about. Exactly.
Right. And but the day-to-day mid-level worker at most corporations is not anywhere near being replaced. I think there's a lot of low-level grunt work that is going to be replaced, but I think they're going to upskill those people into better jobs. Yeah, there's a lot of layoffs generally since pretty much the pandemic, right? I mean, Microsoft just reported like one of its best quarters ever, and meanwhile laid off like 13% of its workforce, right?
Right.
So, success does not equal employment, right?
No, it doesn't.
You're not as necessary, right? The organization can be more nimble, more agile, whatever you want to call it, right? A little more svelte, right? A little more slimmed down and a little more optimized, and they could do. I found, like, when I first started approaching it from fintech, one of the first things I heard over and over is, rather than having something customer facing, right, why don't you do something internally, like try and clean up your own mess internally first, like your monetary stuff, right? Your P&Ls, your this, your that, right? And a lot of them did that, I think, and built some tools out of it that they're now like kind of taking out to the marketplace.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think, the upskilling is just part of what's going to happen. I'm a bit of a student of history, not as much as I should be, but if we look back at some of the major transformations that have happened, we start with the printing press. Same basic thing happened. People were, this is going to totally, we're all going to lose our jobs. The same thing happened when the steam engine came out, happened again when the internal combustion engine came out, happened again when the PC got put on the desk. You and I were probably both entering the workforce about then as PCs were showing up in place of typewriters and adding machines. Then it happened with the internet. And in every case, yes, there were people that were displaced, but most of those people then got new skills and ended up making more money because they took a better job and had a better life. Let's face it, we have fewer people doing these nasty jobs in life because we've been able to automate and mechanize a lot of that. And I think AI is going to continue in that vein to help us do that in different areas. Again, kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, I don't think we've even imagined some of the areas that over the next few years we're going to see AI, and then we're going to go, I never dreamed that was possible before.
No, I think we're still, crawling on the floor. Before I learned computers, I was a line cook. I was a dishwasher. I was a busboy, right? I was a kitchen dude, right? Before I learned computers. So take that analogy, right? And here's another one. We can go buy a Tesla right now for, I don't know, under $40,000 that will do 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds, right? No problem at all. Yet there's a larger number of horses than ever before in the world. People that own horses that only have one horsepower, right? So, I don't think anybody is going to be out of a job permanently. I don't think AI is that difficult to learn. If you can just jump on and say, hey, do this and do that, which is what I see in a lot of video examples. The guys are speaking in pretty plain language and in a pretty plain way to interface. Not a whole lot of syntax or semantics or technical words or anything. Just hey man, pop this thing together for me and make it all shiny and groovy looking, right? And here it comes.
Oh, I mean, one of my favorite ways to prompt. In fact, it was funny just today in the group. Somebody had sent me a link. It happens a lot. Hey, are you familiar with this website? I'm like, no, I'd never heard of it. Something Whisper. So I went and looked at it, and basically its big thing was if you download this app, you don't have to type anymore. You can talk to your computer, and it will transcribe it in real time. And I'm like, okay, I see the app, but I don't understand. My MacBook, I literally can click in any text box anywhere, press my command key twice or control key twice, and I can speak, and it transcribes it as fast as I can speak. The PC does the same thing. And the person wrote me back and go, I didn't know that was a native feature. And I'm like, yeah, you don't even need an app to do that nowadays. And I find that the reason I share that is I find just what you're talking about, that actually makes the responses I'm getting from AI better when I talk to it. And it makes sense. It's a large language model. It's based on natural language processing. And so while programming is its underlying core, and you can do that, we don't have to be programmers in order to communicate effectively with it because of how it's been trained. And I find that just talking with some context, just as you and I would have context if we were talking and having a conversation, yields some of the best results in the least amount of time.
Yeah, speaking of talking to it, I got the Meta glasses, right? The Meta.ai glasses, the Ray-Bans, the Wayfarers, right? And I have early access and got the live AI feature, right? I don't have them on right now, but they're they're booting up, and you can see the little light blinking on the inside there.
Yep.
Maybe you can, yeah, there it goes. And so the other day I turned on the live AI, and I was just trying to have a conversation with the AI and trying to think my way through a problem. And I think with this being like the AI isn't on the glasses, I'm dealing with a natural language processor that's on the glasses that's feeding it up to the cloud. And then, the AI's working on it and sending it back. And, I'm getting a summary from the NLP, right? In this case, it seemed like it wanted to hurry me through the process, probably because of that send and receive and all that stuff that was going on. I found I was like, because I was trying to think through a problem, and I was like trying to talk through it as I was thinking through it, right? And it started to interrupt me, and I was like, will you just shut up for a minute and let me finish, right? Because it was coming back all Scarlett Johansson, right? It was doing the Scarlett Johansson thing on me, right? And being all her-like and all that. And so it was, it's interesting, the different interfaces, how you kind of interact with them differently. For me anyway, right? When I've got the ChatGPT on my phone, I notice that on iOS, when you're doing stuff with it and then it's outputting, it's sending haptics and feedback. So it's vibrating in your hand. It makes it feel more device-like, right? Like more machine-like, right? The other guys don't do that with theirs. They don't have haptics in theirs, or none that I've seen yet. Just different things. The interface on Meta for now you can generate images, and now you can share them right to a social network that's directly beneath the image generator, right there on Meta.ai now. And that, I went from the companion app for the glasses here is now the Meta.ai standalone app, and there's just a little tab down at the bottom.
Exactly.
If you got the glasses, that shows up. And so it continues to evolve. One thing that I really got to congratulate Zuckerberg and Meta and Ray-Ban and Luxottica. A lot of other AI wearable products came out about the same time this thing did, and none of them came out with as good of results. And this thing just continues to get better and better and better. But that's Facebook programming money, one, right?
Sure, no doubt.
And two, something that's taken off, so they want to throw more into it and make it better, right? And the rush towards AI with the glasses, it's great. It's a great thing. I had the Google Glass back in the day. It didn't have AI. If it had AI, I think it had taken off a lot better than it did.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Totally agree. Well, as we kind of bring this plane in for a landing and talk about AI, question for you. We've still got a lot of businesses out there, according to stats, Bruce, that are not really embracing AI yet. They're kind of sitting on the sidelines. As we go through 2025, I knew more and more of them are going to go, okay, I need to do something. You've got a lot of business experience. You've got a lot of practical experience. What recommendation would you have for those businesses that maybe have been toying around with a little bit? Maybe they've talked about it, but they haven't really worked on it. They certainly haven't empowered their teams to use it. What advice would you have for them as it comes to AI and the rest of 2025?
I wouldn't start with building. They say, do you want to buy or do you want to build? I would start with maybe buying, right, rather than building. But if you're a small mom and pop shop, right, if you're less than a dozen and you don't see yourself growing beyond that, but you want to kind of start implementing that stuff into your workflow and into your business and some automation and that kind of stuff, maybe running an LLM on a small local server in a small local shop instead of connecting to buying some service and this and that. Maybe, finding some guy and building it internally and kind of experimenting. I'm talking shops that are on their way and scaling and stuff like that.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't even know what kind of business, probably a product sales and distribution business, some kind of manufacturer even, you might want to think about, getting one of the Mac Studio Ultras, right, for, was it $7,000, and you can run an LLM on it locally, right, and have it built in right there. It does everything that you need it to do. You can plug in Olama and download Meta or DeepSeek or any one of 5, 6 other large language models, plug it in and start working on it, right? So it really depends. If you're enterprise, buy something, right? And turn to the guys that you've always turned to. Your IBMs are there to help you. Your Boston Consulting Groups are there to help you. Your Big Fours are Accenture and Deloitte and Touche and all them are out there to help you. So it really depends how you want to apply it. Come up with a use case first, right? My whole year has been spent searching for the ultimate use case and what's the best way to employ it, right? And what's where should I apply my efforts and all that, right? I still haven't found it, to be quite honest with you, Jonathan, right? I still haven't found it, right? Yeah. But it keeps changing. That's the other thing. Don't base your strategy or don't take your whole company and put it on this chip. this AI.
You're absolutely, yeah, I know exactly. Where
Build your strategy on your strategy, not based on a vendor or a platform or a brand or something like that. Start with your strategy and then work backwards from there. That's what a very wise man said on TikTok the other day. Nate from Nate B. Jones. I like him a lot on AI commentary. AI strategist, I think, is what he goes by, right?
Well, I agree. That's tremendous advice, Bruce. And I think it's, ironically, you're the first person I think that's ever shared that, but I think that's absolutely correct. AI is changing so rapidly, we don't want to necessarily hook our ship or hook our wagon to just one horse. We want to be able to have a harness that can fit any AI that comes out so that we can switch when necessary, because we don't know what the future holds. We don't know what the best engines are going to be, and I think that's a great strategy and really good advice. Bruce, if people are interested in connecting with you, reaching out to you, what's the best way for them to reach you and connect with you?
I'm on every social network known to man. Remunerationlabs.substack.com is the newsletter. It's Neural News Network on Substack. Is the easy name. And then the absolutely incredible AI podcast. And then the AI Bros with John, which is under the AI absolutely incredible podcast brand, right? So I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, everywhere, right? And I'm very easy to find and very easy to talk to, and always looking to get involved. And I've been up to MIT and gone to some of John Werner's events up there, the fantastic events up there. I'm looking to get more involved. I've done conferences myself before, so I'm looking to get really involved in the scene, so to speak, of AI. I'm starting to write a new chapter in my life. My mother passed away recently, and I had kind of been focused on that the last few years that she was here.
Sure.
And now I'm kind of like starting to branch out and dig out a little bit more and come out of this and look towards the future, right? And be focused on growth and outcomes and.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, Bruce, I want to thank you for your time today and for allowing me to reach out and join us here on the podcast to share your insights. I think you've shared some just tremendous insights today, and I want to encourage people, if they're interested, reach out, check out some of the great work that you're putting out, and go from there. I want to thank everybody that's watched the podcast. We thank you for hanging out with us, and whether that be on video and audio or however you're partaking of it, we so appreciate you guys, and we will see you on the other side. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.